Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am checking on my YouTube and my Facebook to see if we are on live, and I'm so glad to have a very special co-host today. And I will tell you a little bit about her later on. And let me check in with my Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are tuning in today from the rest of the world, I just want to welcome you to Singapore, Indo-Pacific, Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, India, Pakistan, where I am, and also Australia, down under Mexico, Central America, and also Americas, including Canada. So we are already live on YouTube, and let's see if we are live on Facebook. Yes, we are live on Facebook. Oh my God. Just want to thank everyone, and particularly thank Lillian. Okay, I am going to talk about Lillian a little bit later. So Lillian, I am going to go on radio. So you're talking to a novice here, trying to pretend to be an expert, ladies and gentlemen. So bear with me. So we are connecting live on radio while my co-host for the Christmas show, Miss Lillian Cutwell, she's sitting in the background waiting for me to fumble through all these technology. And I am on IOW Network app that is available on Android and Apple, and also on streameater.com, and that's www.streameatter.com, STRIMITTER.com, at IOW Network, and we are live there already. So I'm going to play a lot of free songs, and what's good for us, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you are on radio, you have paid for the licensing fee for the right to play on air. So therefore, you've got a wonderful music with us, and this is my trademark song whenever you hear Spandau Ballet, the British group, and that's me, Vicky Asher, your radio host and radio DJ from Singapore. And that's a long introduction, and that's a lot of housekeeping. How are you, Lillian? Tell us about you and say hello to the international audience here in Singapore.
Very well, thank you. It's raining today. It's been in the high 60s all week. We're finally back to where we belong in the 30s and 40s. It will probably rain for Christmas, but that's okay. I'd rather have the rain than the snow, which makes me an anti-snow person. But what can I say? It's pretty when it falls, right? And that's it. Yeah.
With the snow, you've got accidents, you've got skids, and you've got roadblocks. It's good to have the snow, but not too much. Right, and we don't have
exactly just enough to dust the ground, and then it should be gone within 20 minutes. And that would be perfect. Yeah, a dusting to make it look like Christmas, and then okay, New Year, please.
Yes, and Lillian, today is the 18th of December 2021. It is 9:23 p.m. here in Singapore. And I want to thank you for being such a great co-host. And a little bit about us, our relationship to the new audience that who are tuning in either to Facebook, the radio, and or YouTube. Tell us about our relationship. I mean, we actually knew each other in the early part of 2021, and of course you were my co-host for the show, the prolonged pandemic, for the 1 month special show, and I interviewed you for the story, my comeback story, and where you talked about and you gave warnings to women about being scammed, love scams, and about money, taking care of yourself. I remember our relationship, or our on-air relationship and friendship, stretched all the way back to the early part of 2021 at the height of the pandemic. Lillian, do you still remember that?
Yeah, I do. It's if you're in lockdown, and certainly where I lived, we were in lockdown. You were not allowed to go outside of your individual apartments at all. And as a result, you spent 24/7 in an apartment that maybe was 500, 600, 700 square feet, because as people know and who live in cities, square feet determines how much money you pay per month. And in the city, residential housing is scarce, if non-existent. And what went for very low rental 3 or 4 years ago before the pandemic has certainly inflated the current prices to where a 500 to 600 square foot apartment was going for $2,000-3,000 a month. So everything was at a premium, and you just looked out your window, and in my case, the windows here are nailed shut, so you can't open them.
Wow.
Can't get
because
any fresh
cold,
air.
Right? Because of the cold, right? Yeah, but
because
even before we go into that, Lillian, just to let the viewers and really to relate ourselves back to those times where I got to know you. You have been such a great, the person that I know, Lillian, that I know, ladies and gentlemen, I need to give her a rightful introduction. Number one, she has been such an encourager of me, and you extended your help to me as a novice podcaster. Me trying to expand the reach of my production, but I do well better behind the scene or beside someone like you. I feel that I still have a long way to go in terms of growth and development, but you have been a very kind and gracious lady. I remember, Lillian, and you have a wealth of knowledge with your life experience and also your insights about the world and about life. I can always count on you to give us some words of your insight and some words of advice and words of wisdom coming from your life experience. And I think for everyone to know, Lillian is also the founder of Passion World Talk Radio Network, right?
Yes.
Please Google that. And she's also one of the internet radio founders that has been very passionate to bring the voice of the people in the forefront years ago. And I read about you, Lillian, a little bit, not too much, but I think it's so important for us to connect generation to generation and then to a generation, passing on good values, passing on life stories, passing on experiences, making sure that if anyone falls, they don't fall too flat on their faces and they never pick themselves up. I think those in front is always charting the road and paving the way for those at the back. And doesn't mean that those at the back is going to be any easier, because the world has changed. Different variables have changed.
Yes.
Disruptions have changed. Their roles are different. And I don't know if my grandfather's time and my grandmother's time are any easier than mine. Definitely, I can say it's very different.
It's different, but it's the same. I believe that when my grandmother came up, she was born in the late 1890s. So everything that we have now, So she died, in the 70s?
Yeah.
So think about it. She was born in the late 1890s, and what came in? Well, the whole technical revolution came in. I mean, she saw a man on the moon.
Wow.
She did get electricity. She did get plumbing. She did see cars being manufactured. She saw race cars being promoted. She saw a whole lifestyle, a whole culture that wasn't around in the early 1900s.
And she saw.
But I can also say, for her, she marched down Fifth Avenue for the suffragette movement in her bloomers, and she was put into jail, and her husband had to come and get her out. And she was at the forefront of a lot of the movements for women's rights.
Wow.
So that pretty much balances out the scale. And she took everything in measure, which I believe a lot of people today haven't yet learned how to do.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference. But our generation, the kids who were born right after World War II, which would be 46, 47, through the 50s and up until the mid 1960s, we were the forefront of going into the digital revolution. Yeah. I remember computers taking up a whole football field. Wow. Television just went on the air, and during Christmas, you got to see the fireplace with the wood burning in the White House for 10 hours. That's all they pretty much had for people to view on TV during the holidays. We laugh about it now. So there have been a lot of changes.
Yeah, and a lot of changes. That's a gross understatement. That's a world. Your parents, your grandparents, I think they are the ones that have seen the first plane, or even before the planes existed and before the trains existed, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I think today and for the next few days to Christmas, about 7 days, we have got about 7 days. We're going to talk about family, love, relationship, and also to look back 2021, and also to look back history, like what you presented, Lillian, about, some of these stories in the past that we should always remember and treasure the past, and always use it as a motivation and inspiration to work for the future. If the world has changed that much and people could cope with it, I'm very sure that we could cope with some of these immense changes that's going to come, post-pandemic. Even we're trying to crawl out, and we have got this new virus called the Omicron.
Yes.
We just have to learn to crawl, and to really give thanks, during this season, to give thanks about our lives and having lived so far. I just want to ask Lillian, a few things we're going to talk about you, about Christmas, and also review 2021, particularly reviewing the international summit that we've got. Let's start about you, Lillian. Introduce yourself again to new audience and listeners on the radio. Tell us, how are you? And I heard that you've got some great, wonderful news coming up, and we should celebrate.
Okay, well, my name is Lillian S. The S is for Sarah, S-A-R-A, Caldwell. And I put a U in there to distinguish me from the herd of Caldwells that are out there. So it's C-A-U-L-D, W-E-L-L. And about a month ago, I was sitting waiting for my food to be delivered, because everybody had to go down to a central room, and they put all the meals out in plastic bags, and you wait until you can find your name that's stapled to the bag that you ordered a week before. And there was a gentleman sitting there, and compared to most of the other gentlemen who live in my facility, he looked young. Most of the men in my facility are in their high 80s, 90s. And yes, there are a few people running around who are 100 and older. So we started talking, and the meal came in, and I looked at it and said to no one in particular, this stuff would taste a lot better if there was wine or beer offered with it. And he looked me straight in the face, and he says, well, I have a whole case of wine, and I have a kegerator. And he says, you're more than welcome to come out and try it. And I said, thanks. And of course, the other older woman looked at me. And on the way out, after we had picked up our meals, I said to them, well, it's not like I'm going to get pregnant, so I may give it a try. And so much to his astonishment, I showed up and he looked at me and he said, I didn't think you were going to come. And I said, really? I said, at 70, I don't have to worry about getting pregnant anymore. So I figured, well, what the age? What do I have to lose? So I went in there and yeah, hey, I always think about real important things, issues like that.
Yeah.
And we hit it off and we talked for about 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
And it had been a very, very long time before I spoke to a guy like that, not since when I met my husband who had passed. That's what happened with him and I. If we went into the parking lot of the apartment complex we were living in at that time, and we stood in the middle of the parking lot and we spoke until about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And when I finally got home,
5 hours in the parking
lot. Yeah, in Houston, Texas. And when I got home, my son said, you're way past your curfew. I'm going to take away your dating privileges. And then he went back to bed. So this time I didn't have
That's a great encouragement. Oh, Lillian, that's a great message for Christmas. It's all about love, isn't it? I mean, and how did the dates go thereafter, Lillian?
The dates went very, very well. We have a lot in common. He's 4 years older than I am. And for those ladies who are wondering, his wife died 4 years ago from cancer. And he himself, just before he came to our independent living center, he had a stroke. But you know what, ladies? He's smart. He can talk. He makes me feel good. It's nice to have company, somebody to talk to. So you have to understand, you're not going to get what the girls back in their 20s would say a perfect package, because by the time you hit your high 70s, early 80s, you've been through life. You have a few bruises, you have some scars, you're going to have some aches and pains, and you're going to have a story. Yes, you have a health story that's attached. I mean, I turned 70 in April. And since then, I've had several severe health issues. And even though you can't see it on the video, I am now wearing hearing aids. They're very small. You have to get them past the curve of your ear, in case you're interested. And you have to change out the tips every 3 months with new ones. And it's the latest craze that you can put them on. You have an app that you put on your cell phone. And on the app, you can control everything. You can hear the phone ringing into your ears if you want. You can tie it in with your computer if you want. And in another couple of years, they'll offer you hearing aids that can go into the shower and that you can go swimming with. To a depth, they understand, of 40 feet or something. So hearing aids have come a long way, baby. They're not the horns that they had back in the 1900s. And when I put them on, trust me, I can hear everything. My fiance was crackling paper in the living room, and back in the bedroom where I was working, I heard it. And I felt like saying, will you stop crackle that paper? And then I thought, well, it's not fair to him just because I can hear everything. I can hear a fly breathe.
And you know, that's a great congratulations to you, Lillian, on many fronts.
Oh yes, he did propose to me on Thanksgiving Day. He is a former opera singer.
Wow.
And he sang for me from South Pacific, One Enchanted Evening.
Well, I've never heard of that, but I bet it's going to be so wonderful and sweet. And and that
is the ring.
That ring. Wow, can let
sapphire and diamonds.
A round of congratulations, a round of applause.
Thank
Congratulations, you. Lillian. And we need some form of hope
We're
you are the embodiment of life is going to go on, and life is good.
Life doesn't stop when your spouse dies. It just seems that way
Yeah.
after the first year or two. But ladies and gentlemen, if you do find a special someone, yes, if you find a special someone,
Yeah.
take advantage of it. Now,
Tell us.
October 16th, which is a Sunday, we're having what we call a bonding, BONDING ceremony, where we'll be exchanging vows.
Wow,
So
is it
that
like a marriage?
it's like a marriage, but it's not a marriage, because when you get
You don't have
older,
that legal
you don't have
contractual.
the legal problems. Yeah.
Okay,
So you keep you keep your money separate, and you keep your health care separate. And it just makes it, I will tell you this, ladies, if you do remarry again, you will get flack from your sons, because they don't like the idea of their mother remarrying or belonging to anybody except their father. I understand that's a natural behavior for sons.
Tell us about particularly your children. How did they react? Like what you say, they were a little bit like possessive. They didn't want to let you go. Tell us about it.
Well, it's very interesting. His family, and he has 4 children, 4 adult children, and all of them are married, and they all have kids. I was welcome into the family. They were doing a jig that I was going to be there and be a partner to their grandfather, and the grandkids are delighted. My son is not. He is less than delighted.
Okay, what's that psychology behind?
From what I understand from other grandmothers, the sons have problems that it's difficult for them to accept another man in their life. Although, ladies, it was my son who suggested I start dating.
Yes.
So go figure. And then the grandkids, I have 3 grandchildren. The older kids are 15, and they don't have too much to do with me anymore because they're 15 and they have their own lives. And the little one is a little bit hesitant because he had a grandfather. And it's what you tell your children when you remarry. This man, this woman isn't going to be your mother per se. And if you have problems with that, we better settle them now before we are joined. And what I told my grandson was this: he is not going to replace your grandfather. He will be a 3rd grandfather. And how many kids can say they have 3 grandfathers?
That's a great way to evaluate, reframe your life. But Lynn, I've got a few things to tell you. I'm really quite shocked that you do have a little bit of reluctance. I won't call it resistance, but reluctance for them to kind of like accept. I think they're ready to let go, because I think they will let you go. That's your joy, that's your happiness. And for whatever life is left, I mean, we're not going to live to 100 or 120. I mean, there are people who live beyond 100, definitely. But we're not going to live beyond, like way beyond 100. Like we don't have another 100 years. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, and I have to tell you, he was married 42 years, ladies and gentlemen, and his wife passed. And I was married for 30 years, and my life passed. Do I know what's going to happen to him in terms of health? Well, his son-in-law bluntly told me.
Yeah.
And I looked at his son-in-law and I said, my husband had Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I handled it once. I can handle it again.
Yeah. Wow.
And I said, that is not going to stop us from forming a relationship and having a life together. Because if you're upset about what's going to happen in the future, you won't get married either. Because everybody's either going to end up with
Yeah.
Alzheimer's or cancer.
Yeah. Now, Lillian, great message for today. Love, family, for Christmas, right? And I want
Right.
you to give us your understanding, particularly to people, the new generation, that marriages are breaking down, relations are breaking down, increase of domestic violence. I want, for me, I would think that this is a great celebration. I mean, no one should lead a life alone, and no one should lead the rest of life alone. Number one, we don't have to do things alone. We should get someone to share our joy, happiness, or the sadness, or even the moments of life. And for you to have someone, and for you to have this person that you enjoy first and foremost, come on, this is a great gift. And for a gift that you have, I don't think anyone should have any say, uh, or they will not be in a position to give an opinion for you having lived to this stage of life, and for him having to live to this stage of their life. I think we should give people their blessings. We should give people their choices. And you are wise enough, Lynn, I've known you. I mean, you're a wise person, and I don't want you to live alone in that home, in that room. I mean, it's cold, it's dark. I mean, it's not cold and dark, but
I know what you're saying, and you're right. There are many women who choose after their spouse passes to go it alone. My hat's off to them. I am not one of them.
You don't have
and you don't have to. I mean, this guy couldn't believe, he says, "How old are you? You don't look like you're old enough to be here." And I said, "Well, in my 70s." And he said, "No, really?"
Of a 40-year-old woman. I mean, you, Lillian, you have the spirit of a woman half your age. And you have that agility and that intellectualism and the agility of the intellect, and that communication skill. I mean, you beat many, many people, man or woman. I mean, you're a great podcaster with your life experience. I mean, I really wish you've got like 4 or 5 men there. I mean, you've got one, but that's good. But even you've got more, I say, go for it, Lillian.
Well, I am. I'm really pleased. And like I said, the bonding is October 16th. And if you stick around, I can give you guys a open invitation, and we're going to be having it on a 345-acre farm. So there'll be more than enough room for everyone.
Tell us again. Could you repeat that?
It's the bonding ceremony. It's going to be held on a 345-acre farm.
And what date is that?
It's October 16th. It's a Sunday. And it's in the middle of Honeybrook near Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So
it's going to be in 2022.
It's going to be 2022. Yes.
October. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listen in. You've got an open invitation from America's podcaster, Lillian Cutwell. She has an open invitation to you, her followers, her viewers, her listeners, to participate or to view. Is it going to be on digital, live on Facebook and YouTube?
I hadn't decided on that, but that's an idea. We probably could do that. It's going to be, oh, it gets better. One of his sons is a professional chef, so he'll be making all the food for us. Wow. And then the whole family is very musical, so we'll have a brass section playing for us.
Wow. So it's going to be on the 26th of October 2022.
The 16th of October 2022. Yeah.
And it's going to be at 365 Acres Farm.
No, it's going to be on a 345-acre farm. So as soon as I get,
the farm is going to be 300 and
it's 345 acres. Yes.
Acres. I mean, how
Acres.
many football fields is that? It's like
I don't know. I don't know, but I do know they
it's
live,
almost like a few
his son lives
forests.
in a house that was built in the mid 1800s. And then
It's owned by the
on another
family.
part of their property, a person who worked with Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous architect who built homes and who built buildings.
Yep.
He came and built a Frank Lloyd Wright style house. It's gorgeous. It's all windows. It's gorgeous.
Okay, and where is that place
It's in
located?
the middle of Honeybrook. I need to get the
And
exact
where is
address.
Honeybrook? Can you like tell
Honeybrook
us
is in Pennsylvania, which is off
Pennsylvania?
of Route. Oh,
And where's Pennsylvania? Can you tell us the geography of it?
Pennsylvania is a state. Is on the northeastern part of the United States.
America.
Is where
Okay.
the famous Boston is, and also John Adams came from Braintree,
Oh,
Massachusetts.
okay.
So it's
Massachusetts.
one of the original Massachusetts, one of the original colonies, as is Pennsylvania, who were settled where Ben Franklin hails from. So their capital is Philadelphia.
So is that where the world famous Massachusetts Institute of Technology is?
MIT, yeah.
Yes. Wow. That's the world famous MIT, right?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that's like the dream of all the intellects, right? Where they want to be.
And Harvard.
And Harvard, of course. So I'm so glad, I'm so happy, and tell us about you talked about relationship, being with someone new and someone that of your phase in life is like having a new spring, right?
Yeah, it is.
Looking at
It's
things from a different eyes, isn't it? Tell us about that kind of and like that kind of eagerness that you want to live again. Tell us about it.
it's a little more, the rules have changed. You're not a young couple, and you're
Yeah,
certainly not in your 30s or 40s. You're in your
yeah,
70s.
yeah.
And for men or women who believe that life after 60 dies,
Mm,
no, it
mm.
does not. It
Okay.
is what you make of it
Yeah, what you make of it.
and what you want to do with it.
Mm,
We already know where we're going for our honeymoon, and we already have a list of places we want to visit in Europe. And
wow.
he also is aware that I'm still writing and I'm doing well
Writing.
in that area. Yes. And he also knows that I teach kids, middle school, high school, college, university, and continuing adult education of how to podcast. And I train
Wow.
them how to do podcasts. And that
Wow.
includes communication,
Yeah.
presentation, research, writing, formatting, scripting, transcript, the whole enchilada, interviewing.
Do you have a curriculum, a module that you like a
Yes,
workshop?
I
Wow.
have a 3-month curriculum, or you can do it in 1 month. And depending on the age, what we do is I introduce them to a podcast. I talk to them about the 5 different types of podcasts one can do.
Mm,
I talk to them about how to do research, going and
mm,
finding a topic and then narrowing it down. And then I show them how to pull the information from the research. I go into copywriting because
mm,
that's important. From there, I encourage them to use the format. There's an intro, there's a body with support info, and there's an ending. And I explain to them that this template will be used on every paper they ever need to write for whatever subject they need to write it in, whether it's math or science or history. I said, wait until you hit the blue books. The blue books are essays that you need to write when you get into high school and college. And you have to organize your thoughts. So I teach them how to organize, and I teach them how to think on their feet. And I think them how to look at something differently and to really delve into their subject. It's because there are 12 billion other people who are podcasting as well. And if you are going to attract attention to yourself, you need a good title, you need content, but most of all, you need voice language, because that's what they're going to hear is your voice. So your voice is either going to attract them, repel them, intrigue them, having them sit on the edge of their seats, believe in you, identify with you, brand with you, live inside that 15-minute or 45-minute world that you create. So they stick with you from the beginning to the end. And I teach all of that.
Wow.
Plus having interviews.
I hope to be able to sit into one of your classes. You know, I'm such a novice.
Well, I want them to understand that podcasting is more than speaking into a microphone and saying anything that occurs to you, because people don't want to listen to what occurs to you. They want to listen to what occurs to them. And there's a big difference. For example, I have a young man who does a lot of video gaming. So he is delving into one of the games that he enjoys playing. And he's giving 3 podcast episodes, 3 minutes each for each podcast episode, in which he tells people what the game is about. And he makes a good point that it isn't always about violence. Yes, violence is there. But if you look at it as a learning experience in which the characters themselves in the games are doing, you'll find it's a lot more different than taking a gun or a bomb and blowing things up into bits and pieces.
Lillian, I also would like to hear, you talked about love and relationship and finding love and being a new relationship at this stage of your life, like it's springtime again. I mean, it makes life so much more lovable, so much more that you look forward to every day. What's your give us a couple of like maybe 3 pieces of specific advice. You did mention that women or men, they should like stop thinking about, okay, this person has to fit your whole checklist, right? I mean, you want the embodiment of Tom Cruise, the physicality of Tom Cruise, plus the Gandhi heart, and the humanity of Gandhi, and the demeanor of someone who's like beautiful and someone who's like warm. I mean, something that I want to tell you that when we girls are young, okay, we always think that that's possible because you just imagine like that's the perfect vision. But a lot of times reality versus what's in your dream, they are diametrically different. So tell us a little bit about maybe 3 tips as different stage of phases of life, men or women. How can they embrace themselves for a new relationship, having known it's in a backdrop of they themselves have a lot of baggages, right? Like what you say, a lot of baggages, physical, medical, financial, relationship wise, a lot of past baggages that bring forth, and also their own idiosyncrasies. How do they get into a relationship in the backdrop of all this that piles up behind them, and then also embracing a new life and having new sets of expectations, breaking down the old thinking, the old mentality, the old expectations, and trying to embrace that again. Is there any tips they can give to us? And I think this is important and coming from you.
Number one, ladies and gentlemen, no comparisons.
Mm.
What you had before is not what you're looking for now.
Mm.
Whatever was in your former marriage, don't go looking for it in this new relationship. This is a new relationship. You're turning over a new leaf, a new page. Number two, it's what the person is inside. That's what's important. My gentleman loves me unconditionally. If he could rearrange the world to my positives, he would do it. He has already gone and bought me some very nice things that I would never in 1,000 ways have imagined for himself. But he went out and he bought them for me because he loves me. And that's the number one. Who loves me, he cares for me. And the most important thing, you have to have a space that you or your new loved one can go into to tune out the other partner, because you need time for yourself. And if you two cannot agree on something like that, then walk away. Because I'm telling you right now, it's wonderful being around somebody you love 24/7, but every now and then you need to find a spot. And when I was growing up, it was the bathroom for me. And you close and lock the door and you listen to the toilet run. But that's the only thing that's in there bothering you. You're not hearing somebody else's voices telling you what you can do, what you can't do, that you're in big trouble, this is your punishment. No, this is a time and a spot where you can go in and meditate, or go in and listen to a record, or to read, or pummel a pillow, or, jump up and down on the spare mattress, whatever. But everybody needs that personal space, whether it's 1 minute or even a couple of hours. You need to have an agreement between you that when you go into that space, the other partner leaves you alone for whatever designated time. Think of it as a timeout for adults instead of a kid, where you need to get your act together. My gentleman was raised in a family where nobody ever raised their voice. They weren't brought up to compete with each other. And the parents never argued in front of the kids. So as a result, this is a very laid back guy. And if you raise your voice to him, he, kind of looks like a hurt child. And that's not your job to hurt somebody who loves you. It's your job to make him happy as much as he's going to make you happy. Yes, it's the two-way street. It's 100 versus 0. It's 50 versus 50. It's 60 versus 30. I'm sorry to say, you need to bring that along with you into your new relationship. And the fourth one is the most important one. Don't look at what he looks like on the outside. Listen to what he is or she is in the inside, because that's the only thing that counts. Beauty, handsome, it fades, it goes away. And it will reveal what has hidden all those years underneath. I can weigh 2,000 pounds and this guy will still love me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of love you want. Not the kind of love that's like, oh, you're so pretty and this and that. Beauty fades. Inches expand. It's what you have in the inside, how he or she sees you, and it doesn't concern anybody else. There's an old fable by Aesop about trying to please everybody. And in the end, you don't please anyone. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, and you're right. If you try to please everybody at the end, you don't please anyone. And you know one thing, while you were trying to explain these tips to anyone who's going to a relationship or already in a relationship, I
Yes.
mean these tips are something that we all need. I want to ask, I want to also comment, Lillian, to your children and to your grandchildren who has got some ideas about you embracing a new life, a new love. I would say that you are a wise woman, and also going into a relationship, like what you say, you notice that your other future husband, he has a family that are well mannered, soft spoken, always reacting things in a calm manner. I mean, that really reflected on their upbringing, their values that has been instilled and inculcated in them, and that speaks volumes. I mean, that's almost like a living testimony, right?
Yes.
And that by itself, that gives you the assurance whether you're going in right or wrong. I mean, number one, for all the reasons we've said, life is too short, right? We don't have another 100 years. We really don't have another 100 years, right? And the pandemic has shown that life is taken away too easily. Life is taken away unannounced. When we have it, we better just grab onto it and live well, right? That's one thing. Another thing is that if you're going to go into a relationship with the brain versus the heart, I mean, like you're really saying the family is a testimony, right? The children, their grandchildren, how do they, what are their manners and how do they interact with outsiders? That speaks volumes, Lillian. So I just want to let everyone know that I'm so happy for you, Lillian. I hope that you can come to Singapore, but not now. The pandemic is still raging in some countries.
They project.
When it kind of like calms down, okay? But I really want to assure you that not everyone has the blessings that you have, Lillian. And to me, such a great blessing. And when the blessing comes, don't shut the door.
Take a chance. You're going to be asked to take a lot of leaps of faith. And the biggest question you have to ask yourself is,
embrace it.
Do it.
What's there to lose? Hello.
Hello. It's more than just life is too short. Usually, the older you get, your chances of meeting people are slenderer.
I see. Okay,
and
yes.
Women outlive men 10 to 1.
Yes.
So it's a lot more difficult to find another relationship and to have it last. I don't care whether it's man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, whatever. The thing of the matter is that meeting that other half of your soul is difficult under the best of circumstances, and it's more challenging the older you get.
Yeah. And so to me, I'm so happy for you. Now, I like you to talk about Christmas. What does Christmas mean to you, your family? I think in America they call it Happy Holidays, the season to celebrate. Tell us about Christmas, and tell us about during this season. How does it work within your family? What's the tradition like?
Well, for me, Christmas is a time to, don't wince, folks. It's a time to reflect on what you have, not what you don't have. You'll always have don't haves.
Always asking for gifts.
Always.
Yeah, I know. That opening of the present is such a huge thing in Christmas, right?
That's right. And the don't haves don't get any smaller. In fact, they have a tendency to grow like an amoeba. They just get bigger and bigger. So what your job is, what my job is what do I have to be thankful for?
Yes.
And I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church. or that kind of stuff. It's what I believe. And if I have a complaint, I talk directly to the guy or gal upstairs. But the thing is,
to the gaps.
I've learned that you really need to reflect inward and see what you have accomplished during that year, what you have learned, and then marrying the accomplishments with the learned. And if you're a grandparent, what you see with your grandchildren and how they've grown and matured.
What's your reflection on 2021, Lillian?
2021 was a hard year, but at the same time, for me, it wasn't an impossible year. I was in lockdown for 1.5 years. We're still wearing masks where we live. Things have not gone back to normal. Normal isn't expected to be normal until 2024, 25. So my view is be grateful for what you have, celebrate every day of the year. And the most important thing to me is don't limit your charity, if you want to call it that way, to the holidays, but give of yourself every day to whatever is necessary to make it better for the people around you.
I want to also acknowledge and also agree that, number one, like what you say, we should always think about what we have, what we already obtained, already received, what already am gifted, and whatever we are rewarded or whatever we worked for have materialized versus what could be or what we could have. And the thing about Christmas is, the Christmas trees, is symptomatic of the northern and southern hemisphere where there's snow. But however, and there's snow and there's the coniferous forest. But in a tropical country like in Singapore, you don't have white Christmas. You don't have the Christmas trees. Myself, even though I'm a faith follower, I'm a Christ follower, but it is not what it is, or what the commercialization has made it out to be. I don't
Christmas is in your heart, and it's something that you carry with you 365 days of the year.
I mean, it's about Thanksgiving. It's about
Thanksgiving, and
it's not about opening the present. To me, it's not about opening the present. And I don't expect to have any present, even though I'm in Singapore, where a lot of us are Christians. But we want to be really sure the commercialization of it to be distinctly different from the value part of it. For me, I don't look forward to presents or gifts, and neither do I look forward to gifting someone. I mean, I look forward to gifting someone 365 days of the year, out of love, out of the need of someone, out of the memory. Of course, it gives it an extra reason for you to gift someone, but it's not the only time of the year that you should be thinking about gifting something. And neither should you be looking forward to, like, okay, I want my auntie to be giving me an iPad, or that I hope to get an iPad from one of the gifts, and I hope to go, I don't think that's the spirit, and that's the kind of value that we all should be promoting. I think you know what I am talking about, Lillian.
I think that certain people are just that way and they act that way. One of the things I do is give back. I teach low income and disadvantaged kids how to podcast, because I want to give them that step up, give them that advantage that not too many other people would do it. But I don't reserve it for the holidays. I do it all the time. And it's because I know that when you're doing something, you're doing it because you want to do it. You're not doing it to call attention to it or have somebody pat you on the back for it or recognize you for your generosity. You do it because that is part of who you are. That's
Yeah, and
how
you don't want to
you
overdo it.
operate.
You don't want to overdo it to make the person have the mistaken message that they people should be looking forward to freebies. I mean, to me, it's like I don't want to be giving the message that I mean, this is just me, right? That we should be giving out freebies or we should make someone feel okay. An iPad is coming or TV is coming, a newest washing machine is coming to make it kind of materialistic. Um,
Well, and to
trying to
draw
say,
attention to themselves. You're doing it because you believe it's the right thing to do.
yeah,
If you do it long enough and to enough people, word gets around. You do not need to call up a TV station and say, look what I'm doing. I'm such a wonderful person. I'm giving 5,000 blues away. And
true,
to me, if you're really doing it from
yeah,
your heart
yeah,
or because this is part of your convictions or what I was brought up with your belief system, then you don't need to shout out and tell everybody to do it because your good works, quote unquote, will shout enough for you
yeah.
and it'll be stated from the people who benefit from what you've done because
Yeah.
this is what you do. This is part of your MO,
Yeah, I mean,
part of your profile.
I fully agree with you. I mean, it's a time of giving to institutions, to the homes, to the orphanages, to the schools that need it, to children who need it. So I think that's the time where people will set aside everything. So it's like it's like a C to B thing. It's time for you to go to groups, right? To give that thing. And also like what you say, it's not um I would say that there are two sides of it. One side is as an individual, there's no need to shout about it. If you're gifting it to the heart, if you are not wanting self promotion to make it noble, I am totally for it. You don't have to publicize that. However, on the other hand, if that kind of news do get out to create a kind of viral effect, then I would think that it is by all means, if it's done in good spirit, done in good faith. So I totally get you. Lillian, for the next 5 minutes or so, I'd like you to also review, about the international summit that we had just a few weeks ago on the 27th of November. That's only like 3 weeks ago. Tell us your feedback. Tell me particularly your feedback because me being the organizer behind the scene, I would love to improve it if I were to get it done on a wider scale or on a different scale. Tell me what's your feedback. How should
Well, I was part of the international effort that was put together. I forgot your name. Sorry about that. Misplaced it somewhere in my mind. Anyway,
Please call me
she put it
Vicky.
yes, Vicky, and she put together this international summit to address some of the concerns worldwide. And certainly with what Putin now is doing with the military exercises on the border separating Russia from the
Oh,
Ukraine is a very
really?
sobering thought.
Mm,
And this world has teetered on war, a
mm,
massive war,
mm,
for a long time. And
mm,
you would think that they get it. War doesn't work. I'm
mm,
sorry, it doesn't work. It may be the
mm.
best way for guys to go out there and prove they're a man and now prove you're a woman or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we've been having war since the beginning of time, and it always ends up with domination and some race being exterminated because they're the bad guys and
Yeah.
everybody else are the good guys. And you would think that they would understand that it doesn't work. So what are they doing? They're planning to go to Mars, a planet that just is out in the universe, but we've decided that's our next big land grab and mineral grab, so we should go out there. Which again tells me that we're, as a race, we're very arrogant, that we believe we have ownership of wherever we want to go, and we have the right with God behind us. But the thing is that we know that there's something else out there because they've been visiting us for quite a few thousand years at this point. So the summit that was put together by Vicky proves to me that you can put together a reference point for people to see what other people are thinking and how to apply those thoughts, those principles, that wisdom to what is needed to be done to, well, clean up our world instead of going out there with pointed sticks and picking up paper and cups and stuff like that. We really need to start picking up humans in a way where we set them up right and say, now don't open your mouth, just sit here and listen. And then as part of your exercise, I want you to, for the next 5 minutes, do exactly what's just been explained to you. And I think that most humans would have a very difficult time doing it because they don't know how to be civil to each other anymore.
That's very
they
true.
They don't know how to pay,
other, especially in the pandemic.
Yes, they don't pay each other the respect. And they don't listen. I mean, listen, folks. Anybody can go to a summit and hear, but they don't really listen to what people are telling them. When you bring in a young man under the age of 15 or 12 who are telling you directly from his heart what he sees is a disaster for his generation that's coming up, I don't blame him, because I'm embarrassed to take a look at my grandkids and say, we have almost wiped out all of our planet's resources. And guess what, Kiddly Dives? We don't have anything to replace them.
Yes, exactly. What I'm just thinking about wiping out the Earth's resources and not being able to replace it, because some of these cannot be replaced.
A lot of them can't. They've been in the making for millions of years. And when you
can't
hear
replace it. I mean, let's talk about the icebergs
in the Midwest
breaking down from Antarctica, and also in the ice in Iceland and in Greenland. Now we've got another 15 seconds. You know why? Because I want you to be back with me tomorrow. And if we're back tomorrow and for the next few days to the 25th of Christmas, that means we do have a lot of things to cover, and we could cover a lot of areas. So is there anything you want to say to the international audience, Lillian, for the next 15 seconds before we come back to you today? And for today, just for me to even wrap up, we talked about you, we talked about love, and about season, a different kind of love in a different kind of season, right? And I think that love is important, and respecting someone's choices, and respecting the person having the wisdom to make the choices are important. And also, like what you say, some of the things we need to observe when we get into a relationship, some of the things we need to break down if someone is coming into a new relationship, having baggages, what are the bad habits that we should break away from, and coming into a new relationship with fresh eyes. And also you talked about your bonding ceremony on the 16th of October 2020, 2022, and you're giving an open invitation to the world as a podcaster. Thank you. And I think they do that on the internet, right? On the YouTube. And suddenly they have everyone coming on Facebook also. Suddenly everybody came to the wedding ceremony. And you also talked about, like, some of the things we should be discussing for an international summit. Love to have you on again for the rest of this Christmas show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a Christmas show live on YouTube, Facebook, and on radio, streameater.com on IOW network, and that's I.O. I.W. Sorry, I.O.W. network, app on Android and Apple, and on streameater.com. And that's my co-host Lillian Cutwell, all the way from USA, Pennsylvania, and myself from Singapore. Lillian, take it away. Wrap this up in 15 seconds.
Thank you all very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this program for today. And remember to come back tomorrow at the same place, same time, with the same first personnel, Vicki and Lillian S. Caldwell. And if you want to talk to me, DM me at PW Network LLC, PWR, excuse me, Network LLC at gmail.com. Thank you all and have a great day or evening.
Yeah, and that's 10:25 p.m. Singapore. We are live, broadcasting to you live from Singapore to the rest of the world. And I'm looking at Facebook. There are people looking at us right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, if you are in Asia, Indo-Pacific, in the Americas, wherever you are, even in down under in Australia, I want to say hi to you and stick around for the rest of the next 7 days, building up to Christmas. And Lillian, thank you so much, Lillian. And what time is it over there right now?
It is 9:25 a.m.
And
in
this is a
Warnersville,
show,
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this is a morning show bringing to you love, hope, and faith and goodness into 2022. Lillian, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. We've got lots of ground to cover. Bye. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, bye. Thank you all very much for listening.
All right, Lillian. Thank you so much, Lillian. So I've just stopped the live. Okay, and I've just stopped the radio. Thank you so much. It's a lot of things that we have covered, and I thought it's really apt, we really kind of like converge the topics to something that is so relevant for Christmas, starting from you, and then to talk about love, relationship, Christmas, family, and also about what's going to come up in the next few days. Lillian, thank you, Lillian.
You're very much welcome.
So when will we ever when will we be able to see you introduce your other half?
Well, I'm hoping we can arrange something maybe for the summer of 2022. Because I have to find out what the restrictions are. And also, I'm not too keen to do any traveling because there are lots of fights on the airlines now, and I don't want to be there when they have those fights.
The pandemic has made everyone, okay, that's the radio. The pandemic has made everyone so violent, right?
Yes. They say they have confiscated more guns at the U.S. airport than ever before.
Guns.
And that scares me. Yeah. Okay. I'm not a gun person, or a knife person, or I don't throw tomahawks or axes or any of that stuff. Like I said, after 5,000 years of war, which haven't accomplished anything except domination and slavery, I have no use for it.
So you know what, Lillian, we'll continue our conversation tomorrow, same time. Same time. I'll talk to you. Morning show. Wonderful message from you. Thank you, Lillian. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, and could you please send me the URL, the link for either the YouTube one or the Facebook one? Yeah, I would appreciate it. Okay, because we can post it on our TV channel.
Yeah. Throughout the days, I will be sending you the file also if you want it. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yes, a great evening and a great day for you.